Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Grace and I would like to show you how to make a faux metal photo slide using simple household items. For today's project, we will need to have a cereal box, acrylic paint, double-sided tape, a nail file, a sharp blade, some aluminum foil and super glue. First of all, I trace out the slide onto the cereal box. I know that many of you may not have access to a slide, so I've made copies and will make it available for you to download in the link below on my description. I like to give my slides a little bit more stability, so what I'm doing here is just gluing two pieces together. Next, cut a piece of aluminum foil and turn it so that the wrong side of the foil is facing up. Now I like the shiny side, so it's just a personal preference. Here I am drawing out or tracing out the screen of the slide, and then I will draw another box inside the first box, roughly about 1/4 of an inch away from the first box. I'm taking care not to press too hard with my pencil because I do not want to rip the foil. As you may already know, there are various types of aluminum foil quality. Unfortunately, the one that I'm using is very thin, so I have to reinforce it with double-sided tape. I like to use double-sided tape because it helps me to adhere the foil to the template later on. Even if your aluminum foil is good quality and thicker, I would like to suggest that you still do this process because later on we will be sanding down the foil, and this gives it another added layer of strength and protection. Okay, now that I've taped up the foil, let's cut up all the lines except the most outer ones. Now that I've cut out the lines, I will remove the sections of the aluminum foil that I do not need. Place the slide over to the foil, and I'm using the guidelines that I've drawn before, and once I'm happy with the placement, I press it down firmly to make sure that the sticky tape or double-sided tape adheres to the slide. Now here I'm trying to lift up the sides, but I already know through several attempts that this is not going to stick onto the cereal box. I think it's because it's too short and it will not wrap around. So this is where the Fabri-Tac glue comes in handy, and I've put a small amount because I do not want it to seep all over the place. Now I will be cutting off the corners like so. This will reduce any bulk in the corners when I fold them down. If you notice, I am not cutting the corners extremely close to the edge of the slide. I leave about 1/8 of an inch so that we don't have any exposed parts. I get the Fabri-Tac glue out again to glue down the edges. And it's done. Now to round the edges of the slide. So I'm just pressing it down gently onto my table or my cutting mat and making sure that I don't apply too much pressure, because after all, don't forget, this is a piece of cardboard that if you apply too much pressure, it can bend out of shape. So I'm just gently pressing it back here, as you can see. Next, grab onto your nail file and start sanding in one direction only. Be very gentle when doing this, because I have torn this a few times, and in the end I decided to put the extra layer, which was the double-sided tape. Now, sanding is twofold. It helps to create a grungy look, but it also helps to set the paint on later. The next step can be skipped if you're happy with the plain metallic look of a slide. As for me, I like things to look a little bit old and used, so I am applying some black acrylic paint onto the surface. Distress ink does not work at all with aluminum foil surfaces, which is why the acrylic paint is the best. I'm using my fingers to spread the paint because I find that I have more control, making sure that it goes into all the tiny little nooks and crannies. I wait a few seconds for the paint to dry, and then I use a tissue paper to wipe it off. And as you can see, there's some residue left behind, making it look a little bit grungy and more vintage-like. So this is what it looks like after it's been painted. I left the back raw because I was going to mount it onto a card. And here is my finished project. So I put a picture of my mother-in-law onto the slide and mounted it onto a card, but really you don't have to put it on a card. You can just have it loose, or you could change it into an altered paper clip like I have here, or use different types of paper to frame the slide. You can put it as part of a dangly onto the junk journal, the back of the spine. I would be so interested to see what you come up with, and when you do, be sure to tag me on the Slow Life 70 on Instagram. Well, I'd like to thank you all today for joining me on this tutorial. I hope you had fun, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye!